All right, everyone, and it is that time. It is that time for another edition of Marilyn Cafe Society Radio Show right here on YouTube. And so how are you doing on this Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday. Remember I said I'd be popping in sporadically now, celebrating the 16th year of the show broadcast, you know, 13 first on radio, and now, of course, third year of actually broadcasting online. And so I welcome you to the show. I hope you're having a really good week. I know a lot has happened in the world since we were last together last week on this show. In fact, um, some big news may be coming out of Chicago next week. For Cafe Talk today, we're going to talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to have a special guest on the show. Of course, just kind of talking a little bit more to you all about the Black Heroes Matter Jean Baptiste DuSable initiative. You're going to love my guest. I'll spend a little time just introducing you to her and sharing some wonderful accomplishments during that segment of the show. But for now, let's kind of get to some cafe news. Of course, starting with the coronavirus update, things are not looking good. Um, well, the report is that globally things are, the numbers are creeping up. And of course, here in the United States, they're slowly creeping up as well. There's a little good news in this. Right now, John Hopkins is reporting just a little under 135 million COVID-19 cases worldwide, about 2.9 million deaths. Here in the United States, we're still leading in the world with 31.3 million confirmed cases and around 563,000 deaths. In related news, the United States health officials have called for a pause in administering vaccinations with Johnson and Johnson's one-dose coronavirus shot. Of course, the reason that they're saying is because some people who've received the shot has developed what they call severely rare or extremely rare severe blood clots. Now, this halt comes just weeks after a Johnson and Johnson contractor ruined about 15 million doses of the vaccine. Now, according to Nielsen, in a related news story, Nielsen IQ, that is, Americans' obsession with toilet paper is pretty much over. Yeah, they're reporting that sales have plummeted to below pre-pandemic levels and that the demand for toilet paper um, doubled just last March, a little more than a year ago, in the early weeks of the pandemic and stayed elevated throughout most of 2020. That report goes on to say that millions of Americans spent more than $11 billion on toilet paper in 2020, which is up from a little more than 8 billion in 2019. So I'm sure that toilet paper is in folks' basements and folks' closets and guest bedrooms and all of that good stuff. That stockpile is there. All right. And just shifting gears to, again, some of the tragic stories that um, have come out in the last few days. It was just announced roughly an hour or so ago that prosecutors have decided to charge Kim Potter, the police officer who shot Black motorist Daunte Wright to death this past Sunday. Now, this officer is part of the Brooklyn Center, Michigan police force. She's charged with second degree manslaughter, and that's according to Washington County Attorney Pete Orpett. The charge carries a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison. And of course, Potter and the police chief there in Brooklyn Center, Michigan, has resigned. Meanwhile, there was another night of protest there in that Minneapolis suburb. And also, the families of George Floyd and Daunte Wright came together to lead a protest outside of the courthouse where the um, ex-officer Derek Chauvin, I should say, is on trial for killing Floyd last year in Minneapolis. Apple announced a hardware event that's going to happen on April 20th with the tagline "Spring Loaded." All right, and in other business news, Epic Games is valued at 28.7 billion after its latest funding round. Of course, they are the makers of Fortnite. Charles Schwab, did you hear this story? It's very interesting. Charles Schwab accidentally sent 1.2 million to the Fidelity account of a woman in Louisiana who had requested a little under $83 from her account. Yes, $1.2 million. Now it turns out that she spent some of the money. Yeah, she purchased a house and an SUV, and both of them have since been seized. And this next story may end a little better. Listen to it. Earlier this week, The Advocate, which is a Louisiana newspaper, reported that about a dozen members of the Phi Gamma Delta, also known as Fiji, surprised a woman named Jessie Baker, or I should say Jessie Hamilton, who resides in Baker, Louisiana. They surprised her last Saturday with a birthday gift, her 74th birthday, and the gift was cash. Now, listen, Hamilton worked for 14 years as a cook um, for that fraternity at Louisiana State University. And some of the fraternity members also recalled that she helped students in other ways. She provided rides to the store, she took them on doctor's appointments and so forth. Well, listen, these fraternity members, 90 of them, raised about $52,000. That was on average, they're reporting anywhere from $600 to $1,000 per member of that fraternity. They backstory is some of the fraternity members call her from time to time, and so when the pandemic hit, they reached out to her to see how she was doing, and they learned that she was still working, two jobs, and that she, still owes on her 30-year mortgage for a home that she purchased when she was 60, and that she had planned to continue to work until she paid her home off. But that all ended when all of these fraternity brothers got together and gave her that $52,000 check for her 74th birthday. She now plans to retire soon, and also she wants to take a trip to Hawaii. So that's a good news story if I've ever heard one, and that's a good job for them and keeping up with someone who meant so much to them during their college years. All right, ready for some entertainment news? Well, let's get to it. Will Smith and director Antoine Fuqua announced yesterday that they will pull production on their upcoming film out of Georgia because of the state's new controversial voting law. That's right. And we've heard that CEOs of other major corporations based in Georgia have also publicly opposed the law. In fact, the Major League Baseball organization has moved its All-Star game away from Atlanta. But this is the first major film production to back out. Now, it's important because Georgia has spent the last 2 decades building itself as the entertainment industry of the South, right? In film and TV production, they actually locked in some production deals with Netflix and HBO Max. The state roughly brings in about $9.5 billion a year from direct and indirect production spending by offering a 30% uncapped tax credits for these major film companies. Now, we'll continue to watch this and see what happens. And this is all about what is seemingly a rollback to Jim Crow days when it comes to individuals in the state of Georgia being able to exercise their right to vote. So we'll stay on top of it and see how things continue to develop. Let's move into some passion for fashion. And coming up, remember in minutes, we have a special guest that will be stopping by the show to help me break down our cafe talk. All right, so Nike is introducing what is called Nike Refurbished, which is a shoe return program. Now, the program will pilot in about 15 United States-based Nike stores starting this month in April. And this is how it works. A customer will bring in a pair of used shoes to a Nike store for inspection. If it passed the inspection test, Nike will clean up the shoes, sanitize the shoes, and then put them on their shelf at a markdown price to be resold. Now, this Nike Refurbished is an investment in the company's 2025 sustainability targets. And their goal is to minimize product waste through recycling and refurbishing efforts. And this is just one of the ways. Now, what's not clear is how is this program going to benefit that customer who brought in those used shoes? Stay tuned. I'll keep you informed and updated as we get the information in. All right, all right. And now it's time for us to get into our cafe talk. And by the time I get this young lady introduced to you all, I'm sure she will um, have connected to the show. Now, of course, cafe talk is the topic today is all about Black Heroes Matter Coalition, John Baptiste Pointe DuSable initiative. And so um, I guess it's going to help us unpack the initiative and everything that it needs. But before we bring her on, I do want to go ahead and just introduce you to her. Her name is Justice Shelvin Louise Marie Hall. Now, let me just tell you a little bit about her. She recently retired from the Illinois Appellate Court after about 30 years of judicial service. During her illustrious career, she has served as Vice President of the Cook County Bar Association, Vice President of the National Bar Association, President of the Houston Lawyers Association, Chair of the Illinois Judicial Council, Chair of the Judicial Council of the National Bar Association. Justice Shelvin Hall has also received numerous accolades and awards from her peers and others over her lifetime. There's so many, I can't even name them, but I will tell you about these recent ones. She was honored with the Living Legends Award from the National Bar Association earlier this year. And also just this past month, the Cook County Bar Association bestowed her with the Black Legends Award. Amazing, right? She's a graduate of Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia, and Boston University School of Law in Boston, Massachusetts. And sorry, fellas, she's already taken. That's right. Justin Hall is married to event producer Mr. Ephraim Martin, who's president of Martin's International. She's also the daughter of the late Reverend Dr. Shelvin Jerome Hall, who was pastor of the Friendship Baptist Church for 51 years here in the city of Chicago. Her mother, Mrs. Lucy M. Hall, taught in the public school system for 53 years. So she's good people, everybody. She is definitely good people. And like I said, she has so much experience. She's contributed so much to the greater Chicagoland area and across the country. We can't even, there's just not enough time to talk about it, but I'm going to try to unpack some more of this for you. But let's go ahead and officially welcome Justice Shelvin Hall to the show. Hey, Shelvin, how are you?
Hello. Hi, Marilyn. How are you today?
I am good. Good to have you on the show. I'm glad that we were able to make this happen today.
Thank you so much for your invitation. I'm delighted to be here.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Now, Justice Shelvin, you are so many things to so many people, but you are a first lady, starting with the private practice you and four other women in Houston, Texas established a law firm, the first in the nation that was run entirely by African American women. You also was the first woman to serve on the executive committee of Supreme Court's Illinois Judicial Conference. You and your sister, Justice L. Priscilla Hall, who is now retired, of the New York State Supreme Court Appellate Division, were the nation's first elected sister African American trial judges and first African American sister appellate court justices. My
Yes.
goodness, just first all over the place. Now, early on in your career, did you have any idea that you would be a first?
Well, absolutely not. But my sister and I like to say, we chose our parents very, very well. As you mentioned, my father, the Reverend Dr. Shelvin Jerome Hall, who was pastor of the Friendship Baptist Church right on the west side of Chicago, and my mother, Mrs. Lucy Hall, who was a public school teacher and then administrator. They were both very, very active in the community, and they set the standard for us, both morally, ethically, and in terms of work ethic as well. And they were also very, very active in the civil rights movement. And so that's where we got our advocacy from, and our concern and our commitment to the community. In fact, Dr. Martin Luther King visited our church on 3 different occasions, and Daddy Reverend Hall, Shelvin Hall, who I'm named after, was one of the few pastors on the west side that would even allow him into his pulpit. But as Daddy often said, we were originally from Texas. He said, I stopped picking cotton when I left Texas. Nobody tells me who can preach from my pulpit.
Okay.
And so it was my pleasure to actually have an opportunity to meet Dr. King in my father's study. And I was a young girl browsing around. Dr. King was getting ready to speak. There was a huge crowd at our church on at Holman and Douglas. And I'm going, what's going on here? So I went to Daddy's study as I was wont to do. And he said, Louise, because he was Shelvin and I'm Shelvin, so they call me by my second name, Louise. Do you know who this is? And I tell everybody, well, I was young and kind of dumb, but I was smart enough to know a king when I saw one. And he took me by the right hand and he held my hand in his. And even though he was getting ready to talk to thousands of people, I had his complete and total attention. You know how some people completely focus on you? Yes. And he said, Louise, how are you? And I liked him immediately. He had these big, wide brown eyes, and he was short and kind of plump, and I liked that because I was short and kind of plump too. And I wanted him to know, and I said, I'm fine, I'm just fine. And he was so inspiring that day that he actually, gave me the call and inspired me to ultimately become a civil rights lawyer. And that's how I ended up in Texas with the five all-Black females running a law firm in Houston, Texas.
Yeah. And so did you ladies sit down and say, let's become the first, or did you not even think about it? You were just moving in your calling and it just happened.
Basically we were just, it was just the right time. All of us were doing different things. One of us was working at a bank. Another one was working as a chiropractor. 2 others had their own law firm. And then I came to Texas to work with a civil rights law firm because I was an Earl Warren Fellow. I received a fellowship from the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. And so they gave me a stipend. So we became friends at the Black Women Lawyers when we created the Black Women Lawyers Association in Houston. and colleagues, and we said, well, look, why don't we try our own and put our own firm together? And so it just organically came together. And one of us was very pro press, and so she got Ebony magazine to come all the way to Houston to do an article on us, and they featured, it was a several page feature on the Houston's enterprising all Black sister lawyers.
Very good. That is just outstanding. I mean, and you've lived such an interesting life. As you said, you actually touched Dr. King, you know, and not to mention that your parents were who they were, and you know, kind of put that love for social justice, racial justice, and civil rights in you. So it doesn't surprise me at all, um, Justice, that you are now, among all the other things that you have going on in life, you are now the political committee chair for the Black Heroes Matter Coalition. Now, I did have your husband on earlier in the year, and we just kind of touched on this coalition, but tell us a little bit more about the coalition and how hopeful you are that this DuSable initiative will come to fruition. And then we'll talk about that initiative too, or you can just kind of throw that in as you tell us about the coalition.
The well, as you said, I'm married to Ephraim Martin, who is a very active and energetic man who is an event producer, who has several productions, the Chicago Music Awards, the International Festival of Life, the Jerk Seafood Vegan Festival, and you can see my back screen is his upcoming event, the 39th Annual International Reggae and World Music Awards, which will be in Kingston May 2nd. And they can get, and so that's coming up. So, but he, during the pandemic in 2020, it occurred to him that that Lakeshore Drive should become DuSable Drive. And because the founder of the city of Chicago, or founder of this space, was Jean-Baptiste Pointe DuSable, and he had not had sufficient recognition. And during this time of Black Lives Matter, he thought that the heroes of the past should first be recognized, and that this was the time for it. And so I came up with the name Black Heroes Matter. And we were off. They had a rally, and you marched down Michigan Avenue and joined with the Black skaters, and it's just been a busy time, as you well know, because you've been an active part of it from its inception, and we thank you for that. For me, it's part of a continuum in terms of my civil rights background, received from both my mother and father. I ultimately was general counsel of the Illinois Department of Human Rights, which is the state of Illinois' civil rights agency, and which processed discrimination claims on the basis of race, sex, religion, national origin, gender. I mean, so many different areas. And so I was the chief counsel there for many years. And then before I went on the bench, of course, on the bench, you know, your advocacy is tempered. You can make various speeches, though, which I did in many churches and in many community organizations, but you have to maintain a presence of neutrality to make sure that no one thinks that you are biased. So, but I was on the bench for some 30 years, 8 years in the circuit court of Cook County as a trial judge, and then 22 years on the the higher court, which is called the Illinois Appellate Court or Illinois Court of Appeals. And that's where I served as the first Black female chair of the executive committee, and that's the same as being the chief judge of the appellate court in the state of Illinois. And so, but always, committed to the concept of fairness and equal justice, and started the first Black History program on the appellate court, because I thought it was long overdue, and still active in various bar associations, as you've already indicated. So when I retired this past December, immediately I'm working with Ephraim on this Black Heroes Matter Coalition. And it's an organization comprised of about some 80 different organizations and persons, from politicians to actual individuals in the community or community organizations who have all sent in letters and to indicate that they want Jean-Baptiste Pointe DuSable acknowledged far more than he has been in the past. And it's a 3-point initiative. First is the trying to name Lakeshore Drive into DuSable Drive. And that's very important right now, as you know, because you spoke earlier this morning before the city council and before the budget committee, and did a beautiful job, I must say. Just enthusiastic, but to the point. But on Wednesday, on this coming Monday, the 19th, the rule we're trying to get passed through the transportation committee, the fact that committee is willing to name Lakeshore Drive, Jean-Baptiste Pointe DuSable Drive. So it's very, very important for people to notify their alderman or alderperson or alderwoman that vote is coming up, and that people want their alderpersons to vote in favor of renaming Lakeshore Drive, Jean-Baptiste Pointe DuSable. And hopefully when that comes through the transportation committee, then on that very next Wednesday, on the 21st, it should come before the entire city council. Yeah. And so we really need everyone's help there to notify all 50 members of the city council, as we have been trying to do week after week after week, as you and Ephraim and Tramel and so many others have been giving public comment before the city council. We really need public input in order to make that happen.
That's going to be a fight, though. You don't, I know, this whole initiative has been a fight, a century long, well, more than a century long fight. And of course, the late Harold Washington, mayor of the city of Chicago, tried to get things rolling again when he got into office. And of course, it all came to naught. I think he was able to at least get that little park area named after DuSable that remains undeveloped,
Yes, but, there are many who have tried. So this is just la lutte continua, the struggle continues.
Yes, and
but victory ultimately is certain. Ultimately, because we have to continue in the struggle. If we don't, if you don't struggle, you won't get anywhere. And Tony Preckwinkle, the current president of the Cook County Board, also was pushing legislation a couple of decades ago, trying to get this done. And so there's a lot of resistance to it, which is the will of the people is strongest of all. And so that's why we keep trying to reach out to the people in order to make their will known, so that it will not be stymied. Can you imagine, young people throughout the city of Chicago, even here in this century, this 21st century, have no idea who that they are living in a city that was founded by a Black man. Not a clue. You know, it's not often taught in the history books. And how ennobling, how encouraging that would be for a child coming up, you know, from where I'm from on the west side of Chicago, you know, to know that somebody that looked like them was the reason that we're 3 million strong now, and living in this great good city.
Absolutely. And it's a fight, but I just feel like the time is now with all the the unrest and protesting that's going on across the country. The time is now, and I think that these demands, that the Black Heroes Matter coalition is making, will come to fruition. I honestly believe that it will come to fruition because he was the first settler. He was the first businessman. He had a whole complete trade center that was built, a compound of sorts, and unfortunately, like I shared this morning during the committee meeting, that unfortunately, what happened to all those indigenous people and that area, that is now called the city of Chicago, happened to him. Everybody was forced out. Everybody was pushed out, and I'm certain that that is his story. He was pushed out because he was a man of color, and you know, and
And he
and
was a man of color, but he was an inclusive person also.
this
I mean,
is
he
true.
was a man who did not look down on the indigenous people. In fact, he married an indigenous woman
This is
uh, and had children with her. And he was also uh, refused to fight for the English, although they tried to compel him to be a spy on their behalf, and he refused that. He was his own man and strong. He was a traveler originally from Haiti, the Caribbean island of Haiti, which has a long tradition of strong warriors and fighters, you know, and independence, and so we should all be proud to have benefited from his entrepreneurship uh, and his desire to see all persons as equals and not show favoritism uh, from one to the other. But favoritism was not given to him, despite all of his accomplishments. He was not given his due. And here, I mean, he was there in the 1700s, and
yeah,
here we are, how many
yeah,
hundreds of years later, in the 2000s, you know, still
yeah.
trying
It's like
to recognize him.
they were trying to erase him from history to some degree, or at the very least minimize his importance, the importance of the role he played.
Yes, I remember my husband and I went to the Chicago Historical Museum uh, about 10, 15 years ago. And we're looking at an exhibit, and there in that exhibit in our own Chicago Historical Museum was a scene of the settlers, and it said that John Kinsey was the founder of Chicago, and that his child, a little girl, was the first white person born in the area that became Chicago. None of that was true, and they changed it. I did speak with the head of the museum, and they did subsequently change that, and thank goodness for that. And
Yeah.
uh, but you know, unless we are on point and aware, we would believe those lies. So it's important to know the truth and to demand that the truth be told. This is the naming of the DuSable Drive is not the only accolade we're seeking for Jean-Baptiste Pointe DuSable. We're also trying to build a 25-foot minimum 25-foot monument to Jean-Baptiste Pointe DuSable, preferably in Grant Park. And we also are trying to get a full city holiday named in his honor. There's currently an observance, but it's not very well observed, but we want a full city holiday. We think he's deserving of those three things, at least.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so as we prepare for this historic vote next week, these historic votes next week, we do want others to certainly let their voices be known. So how can how can others get involved in this initiative and help make this happen?
As you know, the Black Heroes Matter website has been up and running for some time, and people can show their interest by going to the blackheroesmatter.org, bhm.org, and they can make a donation to the GoFundMe page. They can sign the list in order to indicate that they are in favor of these three objectives. And we can send them out a letter that we've already prepared in order to go to their alderperson. And they could also, we'll get our flyer with the, that they can circulate in the community and to their organizations as well. So it's there for the taking, for the reaching, and we certainly hope people will be inspired to join us in this struggle. We know it's a difficult struggle, but it's not an impossible one.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so again, that's blackheroesmatter.org to sign that petition, make a donation, download the flyer, and just distribute, spread the word, get the word out, and support these initiatives that we've been trying to make happen. And I just feel it. I know it's going to happen. And I'm thankful that you guys thought of me and pulled me in to become a part of this. Before I let you go, Justice Shelvin Hall, how can we? You're such a inspiration, particularly to young people and older people who may be wanting to make a career switch. They may want to get into civil rights law or just law in general. They may aspire to become a judge and just do and accomplish some of the things that you have been able to accomplish, and not only those things that you've accomplished, but you've touched lives and changed lives over your short lifetime. So what kind of words would you like to close this with? What would you like to say?
Well, I would just like to let people know that I'm a living witness that it can be done. I was a child on the west side of Chicago, living on Millard Avenue, going to school in Willis wagons and half days, but was just had the benefit of committed parents. A lot of people don't have that. And I understand that is a blessing. They were committed not only to the community, but they were committed to education. And so education, our family has been part of our family from the onset. My father's mother and my mother's mother were all college graduates in Texas. They were limited and stymied in the things that they could do, but the desire to do more was passed on to their children. They did the best they could with what they had. And so they passed it on to their children, and their children passed it on to us. And now we have a niece who has received her PhD in environmental health, and she has 2 little children, and so we're all trying to protect it and pass it on to each other. But the most important thing that I would say to the young is persistence. You have to keep at it.
Yeah.
You have to, if you want something good to happen, you have to be persistent. Do not lose sight of your dream. You know, it's time for you to step up and speak up, and don't be afraid to speak up for what you need, and because your voice needs to be heard, your position needs to be heard, and you need to step up because your time is now. Don't wait back in the bushes. Step up and speak up. And if there are any elders or naysayers, they need to shut up, because we don't want any dream killers around here. That's the only time you need to do it. No dream killers. If you cannot encourage someone, you know, just be quiet. So I would encourage you to look at me, see that it's possible, you know, short, plump, but devoted and dedicated. And it can be done. I've been so blessed and so honored these just in these past few months, you know. In fact, that on April 3rd, I received 2 honors on the same day, at the same time. The National Bar Association, which is the organization of Black lawyers and judges, gave me the Living Legends Award, and the Cook County Bar Association, which is the Black lawyers for all of Cook County, gave me a wonderful, wonderful tribute with 6 different speakers, including the Supreme Court Justice Scott Neville and my sister, who, as you said, is in New York, and we're the nation's first Black African-American sister judges and appellate court justices, and the head of the Judicial Council of the National Bar Association, which is something that I did, called in from New York, and Patricia Brown Holmes, who is the Stella lawyer in Cook County. In fact, she's just awesome, manager of her own firm. She was the MC, and just wonderful, wonderful speakers. Diane Shelley, who is the president of all of the judges in Illinois, Black and white, spoke, all of them giving me tributes, and Dartesia Pitts, you know. And so it was just a marvelous, marvelous occasion, and I cannot thank them enough. But, you know, that was for working and being committed, you know, to those organizations. So you need to join something, an organization, because just by yourself, you cannot accomplish as much as you could if you joined a good group and a positive thinking group. Please join with others in order to accomplish much. And I would say to the youth, I know that everybody wants to do things fast and quick, fast, and in a hurry. But, you know, I want to say to you that in order to get to success, there is no elevator there. You have to take the stairs. One step at a time, one step at a time, one step after the other. You have to take the stairs. Go slow, be productive, be persistent. Yes.
Yes, that is awesome. And you said you were short, but in the physical sense and stature, but you're a towering figure in the community, you know, and for women. So we thank you, and all of those accolades are definitely deserving. And I'm happy that you took some time from your day to stop by Marilyn's Cafe Society to hang out and share your wisdom, and of course let us know what's happening with this Black Heroes Matter organization and the DuSable initiative, and to kind of rally people up. We got to get them excited and on board with this. And I just can't wait for the big celebrations.
Well, thank you so much, Marilyn. I've enjoyed being at your cafe society.
All right, and very good. And we will be talking again soon. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day and the week.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
All right, you as well. All right, you all. And that, of course, was the Honorable Justice Shelvin Louise Marie Hall stopping by the Cafe Society to spend some time on the show again, just letting us know about the Black Heroes Matter Coalition of the DuSable Initiative, and of course, me just kind of putting a little gravy around her name and all that she has accomplished and what she is continuing to do with her life and this civil rights work that is indeed her calling. All right. So thank you again. And the website is again www.blackheroesmatter.org. And there you can sign the petition, make a donation, download the flyer to distribute, or just, email it and post it on your social media. We do need Lakeshore Drive renamed Jean Baptiste Pointe DuSable Drive. We also need that 25-foot monument placed in Grant Park, as well as an official city holiday for the city's founder, John Baptiste Point du Sable. All right, everybody. And so we're going to kind of wrap up the show here. Of course, before we go, I do want to remind you that we do have a new word for the month of April, and that word is cast. CASTE. Yeah, it looks like cased, but it's pronounced cast. And of course, it's a system of dividing groups of people or society into hereditary, social, or privileged classes. And it's um, it's a negative thing because some folks think because of their lineage or their social standing or even their rank and privilege that they must be stuck there. And there are some countries in the world where sadly that is the case, but fortunately here in the United States and other places you can lift yourself from these divisive tactics that are used. So, just a word you need to learn and become aware of: caste, a system of dividing groups of people or society into hereditary, social, or privileged classes. All right. Alrighty, alrighty. And again, we had a wonderful paladin on as our guest, Justice Shelvin Louise Marie Hall. Yeah, she's an advocate, a defender, a hero of a noble cause. And just another reminder for you all, if you have a book, music, your product, your service, or something that you want to sort of get advertise, or just to find another market to of people to target, reach out to producer at marylandscafesociety.com, and we can certainly help you in that area. And remember, we do have that Christmas giveaway that we do starting in October of every year. So if you want to support that initiative that we have here at the Cafe Society, reach out, producer at Maryland's Cafe Society. All right. All right. Remember, you can go to marylandscafesociety.com. There you can get linked up to me on all my various social media platforms. And of course, you can actually shoot an email to me with a show idea if you have one from that website. Remember the blog. The blog will probably be posted tomorrow. So look out for that blog. And of course, thanks for checking in here on the YouTube channel. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Before we go, we want to tell you what love is. And love is, on this day, we will say that love is the Black Heroes Matter coalition because they are indeed acting in love. All right, everybody. I've loosened up. I know at the start of the show, I was a little frazzled, a little tense. I just had a lot of little technical things going on that I did get worked out. So um, I hope you can. I hope you got to the end. I know you're saying, "What's going on with Marilyn?" But anyway, before we go, we do want to tell you, if you don't do anything else till the next time we connect, be sure that you live, you laugh, and you love. As always, it's a pleasure and a privilege. We'll hang out again very soon. Peace, everybody.